The latest figure from the CDC shows that HIV infections in the United States are consistent, but when looking at subpopulations, we see that young gay men actually faced a 22% rise in HIV transmissions in the past few years, one that has left my community still having sex in an epidemic. As a population whose health is often not in our own hands, we often rely on those in power for the tools to stay HIV negative. Now, as young gay men of color, that statement is not to say that we don't have agency, but to understand that the economic reality of being a young gay man of color in America is often relying on other people. It's either relying on your parents, or it's relying on a sexual or romantic partner who has more money and makes the decisions about how you're going to have sex and be in a relationship. If the CDC were to implement HIV prevention interventions that were accessible to young gay men of color and which treated us as sexual, healthy beings and with dignity, it might promote a narrative of hope that counters a narrative of inevitability that we often face. To that end, we made demands of the CDC yesterday in our meeting that they implement sexually frank prevention messaging that treats the bodies of young gay men of color with dignity, respect, and realism. And that they allow young gay men of color to have a larger voice in shaping HIV prevention and treatment campaigns. That they start campaigns in visible venues that all people, especially young gay men of color, frequent, like Walgreens, Rite Aid, CVS, Duane Reade. That the CDC partners with pride festivals to speak with young gay men of color, both positive and negative, about having access to all prevention interventions, including biomedical, like PEP and PrEP, and examining what part of their budget that goes for HIV prevention, which is a small part of their budget, how much of it is actually spent on young gay men of color, because I'm sure that it does not match the 22%, the 22% rise, or the percent of infections in the United States, which is, I think the 2/3 of every infections every year are in gay men, and then a large part, about 75% of those infections, are in gay men of color. So does their budget match the numbers, is the question.